Hey guys, Kev here, and I'm going to talk about some new knives that have come in the past, I don't know, week or so that I haven't showed you yet. There's, a handful. A couple of them are YouTuber knives. 3 of them, actually, so that'll be interesting. First, I wanted to thank everybody who picked up a Divo nip light over the weekend. Thank you very much. We do still have some of the purple aluminum on our website, divoknives.com. At the time of filming this video, Sunday afternoon, we have 1 black G10 left, and the gray aluminum is sold out. The Ultim exclusive at Traditional Pocket Knives is sold out, and the Blade Binge exclusive is sold out. White Mountain Knives has some of their blue hard anodized aluminum exclusive. And we have the purple. So those are the 2 that are still in stock on either website. Lefty10 will take 10% off either one. And then we have a couple of hardware kits left, I think in blue and maybe one other color. And one thing I wanted to note is that Urban Cutlery, Jesse over at Urban Cutlery, is going to be dropping 10 of each of these versions on his website on Monday. I'm not sure what time. This video will probably post Monday. Maybe I'll try to get it out Sunday night so you have some advance notice. But he'll be dropping 10 each of the purple aluminum, black G10, and gray aluminum on his website. And they will come with a free set of skiff bearings. So you will get a free set of 5mm 1/16 11 ball skiff bearings with your purchase of a Divo Knives nip light. I'm not positive if the discount Lefty10 will work, but you could try it. I do have a discount code for his website, at least for, I think, Divo Knives and some other stuff, but 10% off. So you can pick up the nip light over there and get some free skiffs, which is a really cool promotion, I think. The next Divo knife that will be released, just talk about it real quick, is the Barley. This is a Urban EDC exclusive model. This is their knife, not our knife. It is our design. So I should have said the next Divo design to release. They did a pre-order on this last year. It took a while to get the production run in, but they are in. And they are dropping these on September 4th. So if you're interested, check out Urban EDC. That is different than Urban Cutlery, who I just mentioned. You can go over there and check it out. I am not positive on the retail price on these. I know these retailed for $250 on the pre-order, but the retail price might be more. And then these were $300, so it might be, $299 and $325. I don't know. Not positive at this moment, but September 4th, these are dropping over there at Urban EDC. M390 belt satin. This one is the plain titanium version. This is the version Colin would have picked out for himself. He loves a basic bitch finish, as I call it. And it's excellent. Walk and talk is great. Then we have a Sagaha pattern with a PVD handle. They are titanium. And you have a acid-washed M390 blade. These are all stupid thin. That was the idea behind this model. I had the inspiration with the Tactile Knives Bear slip joint, which is stupidly thin at 0.27, I think. This is at 0.31, so it's still, it's a little bit thicker, but the reason we did that is because it structurally makes more sense that way. You don't get side-to-side play. You don't get some of the stuff that I feel like that knife had some issues with being so thin. So anyway, really happy with how these came out. It has a forward finger choil, so you can lock in here, and you really can't close it on yourself. It's a really safe slip joint, if you will. And then we have the blue anodized titanium Sagaha pattern with the belt satin M390. It is a flat grind, but it is a super thin blade. It slices like an absolute dream. And those are dropping September 4th at Urban EDC. Okay. Let's talk about some knives from YouTubers. So the first one is one that I've really enjoyed, and I got to give great props to Tri-State EDC because the Tri-Stash here is excellent. This is a Blade Binge exclusive knife. So they teamed up with Tri-State, and he gave them his design, and they had Best Tech OEM this puppy, and this is what came of it. And I gotta tell you guys, it's excellent. They did a fantastic job in the design, and then the execution was done extremely well by Best Tech. Now, they already had a pre-order on this, unfortunately. I got it after the pre-order ended. I gotta say, if you pre-ordered one, you're gonna be very happy with it, especially if you're right-handed. If you're left-handed, it still works. It's just not as good. You have to be on the clip to reverse flick it. If you're on the lock bar, it locks up completely. So it would have been cool to see them offer a lefty version because Best Tech will do a low minimum, 50 pieces on a lefty run. But you have to understand, this is their first exclusive knife like this, I believe. And it's Tri-State's first design to be released. So, you know, I don't think they have a bunch of funds they can throw at 50 lefty pieces that half of which will sit on the shelves, you know? So I totally understand why they didn't offer it. But I wanted to put it out there that lefties, unless you love the thumb flick and the front flip and the button flip, and you don't mind putting your finger on the clip to reverse flick it, it's not the best left-handed knife, but that's pretty much how it goes with a frame lock, right? My kind of test usually is I want to just pick it up and fire it. And the way when I pick this knife up and fire it, I can't because I'm locking up the detent there. So as a lefty, I would pass just because of that. But if you're right-handed, which most of you are, it's really good. He killed it on this. I love the blade shape. You guys know I love a nice sheep's foot blade. I guess this would be considered a warning. It has that little bit of a poon. It's got a little bit of stout in there, I guess. Definitely way different. One thing I actually like better about it compared to the stout is because it's a Warren Cliff and because of the way the tip comes down and then straightens out, you get a really thin tip, which can be problematic, but this is going to be used for EDC, so I don't think that's a problem. But it's going to penetrate a lot better than the stout. The stout, you have that tip right here, and it is also very thin. But at times, it can feel a little bit stubby because it's not a super pokey tip, if that makes sense. The Tri-Stash has a little bit more of a tactical point to it as opposed to the stout. So that's one benefit you get here for sure. Over here, I think you get a little bit of a more robust blade when it comes to all around use. Now, the hollow grinds are both phenomenal. They're both extremely thin. I think maybe this one is a little bit thinner though because of the stock might be slightly thinner and you have that elongated tip. So you're going to come down to a razor thin edge. But again, they're both stupid thin. Anyway, I recommend both. We do have more of these coming. So if you missed out on this and you like this guy over here, Traditional Pocket Knives is doing an exclusive of it. And there's 3 versions, and they're coming in a month or 2. And there will be left-handed versions because we actually care about lefty. I'm just kidding. Yeah, the only thing I don't like on this, and now I actually like it, is the mustache on the pivot. At first, I was like, ooh, it's kind of, you know, gaudy. But you know what? The more I look at it, the more I go, it's on brand, dude. Cole is an absolute character, and he is one of the best people at self-promotion out there. And I mean that in a good way because he actually has a way of doing it without coming off douchey. That is very difficult. Most people that are, you know, very self-promoting, like I struggle with that. I feel kind of weird doing it. But he can do it, and he doesn't really come off douchey. He just, you know, comes off like Cole. And, yeah. So I'm really happy for him. I'm proud of him. Awesome work, dude. Really happy for you. And I believe they sold like 320 of these on pre-order, and they ordered some extras. So I don't know if they ordered like 350 or 400 or more. So they might have some extras that they'll be dropping once they come in. And yeah, again, if you're right-handed, I highly recommend you pick one up. The only thing ergonomically I don't love about it is because of the sway back style design, which is really cool, by the way. When I hold this knife choked up like this, or I guess even back here, this portion right here really wants to get into my palm because it's got that sway back design where it's almost like reversed. I don't know, it just feels a little uncomfortable here. I do think that a lot of that is the size of my hand. Like if you had smaller hands, it wouldn't even touch you. And if you had larger hands, I think it would be more comfortable in the hand. So I have a large glove size hand, and I just happen to notice that quite a bit. Now, it's not like detrimental really. I can grip it up like this and choke up and I'm good to go. So it's just more of a nitpick, but it is one thing. The detent on this is perfect. I mean, it is unbelievable. The front flipper works extremely well. The button works well. The reverse flick works well. The thumb flick works really well. I think I mentioned the front flipper. You can flip it all the different ways. I mean, this thing is excellently tuned. I mean, it was a fantastic job by Bestech on that. They put a notch in the backspacer, which is ballsy as hell. And it looks like it paid off on this example here. Hopefully that is how all of them will come out. You know, I'm never a fan of a blade that dives into the handle real early like that. But I love how much blade they got in here. And I like that you can see the blade there. And I don't know. It works on this knife. It's very cool. Very, very cool. Yeah, I think this is for sure a win for Cole and Blade Binge. Great job, guys. And they were $2.99 on the drop. I know, or on the pre-order, I know from experience working with Bestech that price is solid. So good job on that. And it's got the button lock, frame lock thing going on that we've seen a couple times now. I think we saw it on the Caliber from Golden Design Works. And then we saw it on the Evolution from Real Steel. And maybe there's a couple others, but very cool construction. I really like that. And yeah, very, very nice knife. That's the Tri-Stash from Blade Binge and Tri-State EDC. The next one's from Neves Knives. So this is the Offender, as I understand, and this is another Bestech built knife. Neves Knives branded. You have a compound ground Tanto blade here with a harpoon. Certainly this overall design does not fall into my aesthetic. So that's the first thing I have to say is it just doesn't do it for me aesthetically. As you guys know, a Warney is more in line with what I'm after. You know, a sheep's foot blade, stuff like this. Obviously, two of those are our designs. Here's another one, the Lush. So just so you can see what is kind of our style. I showed you the Stout earlier. So for me, this doesn't catch my eye in that sense, but I think there are people who are into more, I guess, tactical knives that this would be really appealing to. So for those people, I do want to say the construction of it is very well done. I love this big old pivot with the pivot collars. I like the blue anodized titanium accents. I love this clip, by the way. One thing I want to note about the clip is it has that bent steel deep carry clip aspect to it that we all love, but we hate the aesthetic of. But it fixes the aesthetic part because it's titanium, right? And it's got this interesting design. It reminds me of my favorite clip that I've ever seen on an OTF, the Axial Gear Shift 3. If you look at this clip, it is so good because it's like almost like a titanium wire clip. You get such deep carry. It looks excellent from up top. It's milled. It's got great retention, but because it has the screw holes right here underneath, and there's a hole in the clip that you go through, it allows you to have that super deep carry and bent over style look. And this is exactly the same way, right? And it is notched into the scale, so we shouldn't, we don't have any movement. Looks like we have T8s all around. I know he was talking about trying to do T10s on some stuff, so it's possible that, let me check. That's a T10, right? Let me try. This is a T8, so let's see. The pivot is T8, that's obvious to me. That's T8. That's T8. So they're all T8. I know he was talking about doing T10 on his other knife, the Misdemeanor, and I sort of remember him saying he wanted T10s like all around on his knives. But these are prototypes, so you have to take that into consideration. The backspacer stands out of the frame. That is the second time now that we've seen that from Neves. On the Misdemeanor, he had that sort of what do you call it? The grid, the brick pattern, the grenade pattern, the whatever that's called. Sorry. He has that on the other knife, and it kind of sat proud, and they're, so that's some kind of a feature that Neves is into, and I can see he got that raised sort of jimping on it, which is unique. I've never seen that before. Very cool. Very cool. Aesthetically looks interesting too. Reverse flick is good. I will say the detent, I don't know if that's a scratch or just, I think that's just a piece of skin in there. The detent is good. It's touchy. I don't know if I would want it to be too much stronger, maybe a touch stronger. The only reason I say that is for the reverse flick, but it is easy to fire out, no problem. So definitely nitpicky there, more like, nitpicky, tweaky type comment there, but it could be maybe a touch stronger for the reverse flick, but the front flip, top flip is excellent. That's the one benefit you get here with this type of front flipper. When you use this traditional style, you get all the leverage onto that corner and you get to fire it. So even though this has a stronger detent, it fires out super reliably and it feels great. This, if you go too strong, then your fingers just are going to slide across that jimping and it's going to hurt. So it's more of a game of trying to tweak the detent perfectly. It's done very well here. And the one reason I'm a little iffy on trying to get it stronger is left-handed. It actually works with your thumb on the lock bar a little bit. You can see if I come down to here, I can fire it without having to be on the clip like on the other knife I showed you there. If I come up here, though, it does start to bind it up, and I can't get it to flick out. But down here, I can fire it easily. So if it was stronger, then I think that would become very difficult left-handed. But if you're right-handed, I mean, I think overall the detent is really good. I do like this style front flipper. I think he's really kind of come up with his own sort of style. It's got the mohawk, it's got the sort of front flipper style. You can reach around it, you can top roll it, you can basically traditional front flip it. You can basically do all the things with it, which is cool. And that's just a trade-off you're gonna get no matter what you do with a front flipper like this. You're gonna have to trade off a little bit of detent for that, just to get it to work with all the deployments you want. You know what I mean? But yeah, I mean, it's really cool. Ergonomically, it's comfortable in hand. Now, it does have this little bit of sort of a pistol grip handle to it. And that's another thing aesthetically and ergonomically. It just is not my style, right? It feels good in the hand. And kind of reminds me of it's the weird comparison, not design-wise, but it kind of reminds me of the Kunwu Padre that has that little bit of a banana curve to it as well, and it's just not for me. But people love that knife. So I would love to hear your guys' thoughts in the comments. I'm sure Jared would love it too, as well as Cole on this one. Let them know what you think. Availability on this one, I'm not sure right now. I think he is avoiding pre-orders, if I'm not mistaken. He's just ordering these knives. So that's cool. You should see a drop at some point of the Offender. And there are some updates coming, including the plunge grind. That's one thing that Jared has a really good handle on. And so I'm sure it'll be perfect once it comes in. But yeah, you can see the plunge ends right about here. So you don't have much sharpening life to it. You could maybe cut a notch in there. That's, you know, something we struggle with as well on Divo knives. Getting that perfect every time is hard, especially not being expert sharpeners or, you know, that's not something that traditionally has really been a thing for us in our personal knives that we care about. So trying to implement and translate that to our designs has been a process. You know, so I think going forward from here on out, new prototypes and everything, we're going to be a lot better about that because we're going to be focused on it. But anyway, that'll be updated. I believe he might have mentioned a couple other things, but it's very lightweight. The milling in there is excellent. You have a little bit of jimping on the lock bar. That's nice. You have great lock bar access. I mean, you can see it drops. Nice belt satin on there as well. Jimping up here. Yeah, really cool. And that is the Offender from Neves Knives. And then the third one is actually one that has released already. This is the Truffles. And this is from Misheard Knife Reviews, aka his brand is Aurora Knife and Tool. And this is an interesting one. I may do a disassembly on this because this is actually a knife that they sent me, a production knife. And they told me I could hang on to this. I'm going to pass it around my pass-around group, of course. But I may do a disassembly just so you guys and I can get a look at the internals on this because it has this interesting lock. And I don't even know what they call it. But when you push the button, it pushes the lock bar the opposite direction. So instead of doing what this does, and what we see a lot from these liner and frame lock, button lock, right? So it's a button actuated frame lock or a button actuated liner lock. You're pushing the button and that swings the lock bar out of the way, right? So it's a traditional lock bar and it's just using a button to push it out of the way, right? This actually pushes that the other way. It pulls it in. So there's some kind of a leaf spring or something in there that you're pushing that's pulling it back, I guess. So it'd be cool to take a look at that. The one downside to that, I think, is it needs a little bit more pressure to do its job than this. Where this, all you need to do is have something to put pressure on the frame lock to push it out of the way. And a frame lock traditionally is not super difficult to move. It does depend on the knife, of course. But this feels like it has a little bit more that you have to push on it. So maybe it could fatigue some people over time. And I'm guessing maybe the detent strength has something to do with that. The other downside to this is there is actually a spring in there. Not for the lock, but there's a spring under the button, of course, that helps it have that spring to it. And I just don't really like any type of compression spring inside of a knife, but it does work really well on this example. It doesn't feel rattly or chintzy at all like it does sometimes when you have those springs. It's very solid. Like when it's closed like this, you can't even push the button. And then once it's locked up, you have that little bit of give. So very cool. But yeah, I might do a disassembly because this actually came a little bit loose on me. And I was just thinking it'd be cool to take a look and then I can Loctite it and all that good stuff. But yeah, this is the Truffles and they're actually dropping a dark version of this. And that's going to have like a dark bronzed titanium handle. It looks so good. And they're also going to have this version again. And those are going to be a pre-order as I understand it. And that is happening in early September. Early September on that. The packaging on this knife is incredible, by the way. It does have a reversible clip with a filler tab, which is amazing. One thing I would say, if they watch this video, is it'd be cool to have a little piece of plastic under there so that the lefties who want to flip the clip don't end up with this little mark on the titanium. Now, this one didn't do it too bad, but there's a line there from the clip. And sometimes that can be a little worse, a little better, right? Do I have an example of, we had these little plastic circles that we put under the clips so that when a lefty flips it, they don't have any of those marks. So it's just something to note that would be kind of cool. The packaging. So it's really nice. Comes in this awesome box. I mean, look at that. And that is the shipping box as well. And then inside, it has all this cool writing in here about the pre-order and stuff. Now, they did send me some extras, but you get this sort of exploded view and warranty card. The box with a pouch and everything in there. Very, very nice. Look at that. S35 in gray titanium, made in Yangjiang, China. And then there were some patches and whatnot. And there's some Band-Aids in here, which is awesome. Ain't got time to bleed. 24 Band-Aids. So I don't know how much of this stuff actually comes with the knife, but the packaging is awesome. Now, I want to stress that this, I think, is the this is the pre-order packaging. So I'm not sure if they use this for all orders, but it's possible. Let me pull up the website just to show you the dark version, Aurora Knife and Tool. I believe it's Truffles. It's like truffles.com or something. They have, yeah, meettruffles.com. So there's the dark truffles, all right? Really cool. $189, and I love the way that looks. I mean, that looks beautiful. Dark Truffles early bird ends 8/4. Regular price is $199. Well, it's already August 4th. I don't know when the pre-order ends. I know he mentioned something. That's if you buy two. They have one with Zircon tie on it. They have extra hardware kits. There's the Band-Aids. They have all types of stuff. So this is some of the stuff that was included in the box for me. Shout out to them for the extras. But I believe they did tell me there was a date for the end of that Aurora knife. Come on now. There we go. Dark September 4th. The campaign closes on September 4th. So, yeah, that is the plan there as far as I know. So, very cool. I like it a lot. I've been carrying this for a few days. I carried it. I flipped the clip, carried it left-handed. I carried it right-handed as well. Great flipper tab. The detent on it is excellent. They really dialed that in from the prototype. I did review the prototype. And, yeah, they made some great improvements from the prototype. I can reverse flick it excellently. The cool thing about this is the upside of having that compression spring in there that takes a little bit more effort to push, is that left-handed, I can flick it with my finger on the button, and I feel the full strength of the detent. A lot of times, button locks, when I flick them lefty, my finger is somehow touching the button or whatever, and it basically defeats the detent. And then it just flops out, or I have to really wrist it to get out. But this is perfect because that button doesn't get depressed at all as I'm flicking it because it takes a little bit more effort to engage that lock. So that's a plus side for that. The front flipper is really well done. You can see the jimping goes up and around, which is something I stress all the time. And we rarely see it. Rarely see it. So that's excellent. Construction is good. And I think for sub $200, this is an excellent knife. The one thing I didn't love about it, carrying it, is as an EDC, the tip is high up. So, you know, in order to cut boxes and stuff like that, I had to lift it up pretty high. Like I was trying to cut the tape on a box, like down the center. And I didn't necessarily try this tip right here, but I don't think that would really work too well in that case. So I'd have to lift all the way up here to get to the tip and then slice down. That was one downside, where if you have like a sheep's foot blade, you just, you know, and you're good to go. That's the reason I love sheep's foot, warnies, stuff like that for EDC. But that was my one gripe. Other than that, it cuts great. It's stupid thin. I mean, this is hollow ground, and you can just feel how thin it is. The stock is already thin, and then it's hollow ground really well, and you have that compound grind. So it's still thin up here, but you get a little bit more meat behind the tip, so it's sturdy as well. That is the plus side to the blade shape, right? For stuff like stabbing into things like cardboard and other things, it's going to do that really well. And it looks cool. You know, I'm not the biggest Tanto fan. It depends on the Tanto, the example. I like this one. It's got basically a drop point look to it, but it has that little bit of an extra tip there and the compound grind. It's very cool. So this is the Truffles from Aurora Knife and Tool. Excellent, excellent production knife. They killed it on this. Really happy for them. And yeah, check out their pre-order up until September 4th on this bad boy. So that is the Truffles. The next one's from Remet. So Remet was kind enough to send me another one of these RT swordfish, I guess. It comes with this cool slip. I've showed you this before, but basically the knife goes into the slip and clip up, and then you can use the clip in your pocket. So you just slide it in your pocket like this and use the clip, and then you're safe. And then when you need the knife, you just push forward on this, and that opens the prongs, and your blade falls out. This is actually a DLC version of the swordfish, and that's why I wanted to show it, because the one I had before was titanium bead blasted, I think. This one is DLC, and I am told the handle and the blade are DLC. I would love to have some experts on DLC chime in the comments. I would appreciate it. I do believe them that it's DLC on both, but I'm trying to, in my mind, figure out the concept behind this. So I tested this. I took a bit driver. I'll just show you. Took a bit driver to the blade. You can see there's some marks on there, right? Grab a cloth. Just wipe it up. Gone. Still looks fantastic. So that is DLC for sure on this M390 blade. Now, I also tried it on the handle, and I found that it was still pretty resistant, but you can see that mark right there. You see a little mark right there? That is from the bit driver when I tested it on here, right? If you scratch the titanium on the handle, it doesn't hold up as well as the blade did. See that? It still does great. But the way Remet explained it to me was that because the material underneath, the titanium, is softer than obviously the blade steel is, that has something to do with it. And I'm just trying to get my brain to comprehend it, and I can't. And I asked them, I was like, okay, so if the handle is 40 HRC and the blade is 60 HRC, the DLC, does it add a certain amount? Because I'm always told, yeah, the DLC blade is, 80 HRC or whatever. So is it adding 20 HRC to the blade and 20 to the handle? So now this is 60 and that's 80, and that's why I can scratch this, because I guess 60 HRC might not hold up to this. And they said, no, that's not how it works. It's just because the titanium is softer underneath. The material, titanium itself as a material is softer. Not the HRC really, I guess, is the point. That is why. The DLC only can do so much. It's only so thick. I'm trying to understand it. I don't. But I guess what the point is, the blade is hard. Steel blade, stainless steel, heat-treated blade is already pretty damn hard, right? And so you're putting this layer of DLC over it, which really helps the HRC in terms of, resistance to stuff, right? So scratching it with a bit driver might not do anything because the steel underneath is very hard already, and then the DLC just gives it that really extra protection where this is already soft. So I don't know. So what I kind of understand out of that is that I'm basically pushing that driver. It's essentially scratching under the DLC maybe, or I don't know, like the DLC is getting pushed into the titanium. So I'm basically pushing the DLC and scratching it into the titanium because the titanium is soft, right? Even though the DLC is hard, it's only so thick, so you're kind of pushing that layer in. I don't know. It's hard for me to wrap it around my head. And I've had this conversation with a couple of people, and I'm just trying to understand it. So if anybody can explain it in non-scientific terms, because I've seen they sent me like a whole readout of it and explained it, and it probably makes perfect sense. It's just my brain isn't having it. But either way, I totally believe it's DLC. I just, I want to understand why that is marking up more than this. That's all. Anyway, it looks great. I really like this. I think this one is $316 because of the DLC. So, as we've discussed in other videos, DLC does cost a bit more to apply than a PVD or whatever. So I think the standard versions of this is like $279, and then they have this one at $316. It has this beautiful carbon on it, and basically what I'm told is this is a form of the Chinese fat carbon. I thought it was like camo carbon or fat carbon or something. It looks just like camo carbon, like excellent. So they've definitely gotten better at making this stuff if that's the case. Or this is some kind of camo carbon and, I just had the bad information, but it looks great. I like it way better than if you see my video on the first one where I had one with the fake toxic carbon. I really didn't like it. This is beautiful. I love the way they mill the front here. It almost looks like it's got some kind of like lasered thing on it, but it's actually milling. It looks gorgeous. And in person, it's even more impressive. It's a beautiful knife, guys. And if you're left-handed, you can reverse the blade. So you can take it apart and flip the blade over. So when you do this, it comes out and the edge is down here and it's left-handed. Very cool that you can do that. And this, in my opinion, is the best gravity knife on the market. This beats the XO, and there's two reasons for that. I just like the smoothness of it a little bit more. It doesn't feel as janky. And I think some people like that on the XO, that it kind of like slams the frame down and then it flies out. But it kind of feels cheap, right? This doesn't feel cheap. It glides out. It's very smooth. It's all very contained nicely. I love that. The second is the play. On the XO, you have play all over the place. Now, if I don't hold the knife like I'm cutting something, if I just hold it like this, without touching the sides, there is a little bit of side to side. There is no up and down. None. Okay? Now, if I hold it like I'm going to cut something, which this ergonomically is designed perfectly, look at where my thumb lands. Look at where my index finger lands. Perfect grip. They're swelled up so that you just, oh man, it feels perfect. Now, there's no movement in any direction. Like, I'm not talking about there's just a little, there's none. I can't feel anything. Where the XO, even if you hold like this and you grip down crazy, you can still move the blade around a lot, right? This one doesn't even have up and down to begin with. So I just think it's a little bit better engineered knife. Now, I guess the one downside is the clip. If you put this in your pocket, you could easily bump that and have the blade come out. Now, how realistic is that? I don't know. But that's why they do provide this slip. So the EXO is a little bit easier to carry, I would say. And the EXO does have a lock. That is another plus side for the EXO. But it's been around longer. They've had time to innovate it a little bit more. So we'll see what they do on this. But this does work, by the way. This slip works. And one thing I thought would be cool if they watch this is if this button could be the lock. Like if you slid it up, right? And then once the knife is in the handle or out of the handle, what if you could pop it down one more click and that locked it? Or when it comes out, you could push it up one more click, or maybe you pull it down again in that sense. Once these are closed, then you can click down and it locks it. That would be awesome if there was a way to lock it one way or the other, because then you could just click that down, lock it, and then you could use the clip. And that would be sick. But I don't know what would go into that engineering. But it's a really cool knife. This is the RT Swordfish. There's a bunch of versions. I'll put a link on my website now. On my website. A link to their website in the description and the comments. I do have a discount code, LeftyEDC. That'll save you 5% site-wide on Remet's website. They have a bunch of cool stuff out right now. The Peregrine Falcon I've done some videos on. The RTB I've tried is excellent. And then the Swordfish I've tried is excellent. And they have more stuff coming. But really cool. And true DLC from Remet. So shout out to them for pushing the envelope a little bit, right? I do have two more here, okay? The next one is from my buddy Backpack B. He loaned this to me. This is the Keen. The Alliance Designs Keen. And I don't know why. I, for some reason, thought this was a Ray Laconico design. And I think I remember now why. Because he has a design called the Keen. He had the Drop Keen. That's why it was in my head. This is actually a Corbin Steelworks design. So this is a Corbin design. He did the he designed the Knoll Knives Grace. Excellent design, by the way. This is very cool as well. Now, as a lefty, you know, not as good for me just because, you know, I can't reverse flick it easily. I got to get on the clip and, you know, but if you're right-handed, you know, and if you like these type of designs, which I think are very popular with the custom folks out there, like my buddy Ev, Knife Ninja EDC. He loves this sort of just basic titanium frame lock, X blade. It's either a drop point, spear point, or some kind of point. And then it has some kind of unique pattern on the titanium, and a milled clip and thumb studs. That's important. It's always thumb studs. So I'm talking about wear knives, you know. There's so many of them that Maverick Customs, there's so many that are very similar in that vein. And to me, I don't enjoy those. I'm not a thumb stud guy, first off. I'm not a frame lock guy, really, because usually they're right-handed only. And even if they're left-handed, I struggle with putting my fingers all over the lock bar, and it's hard to open. As you can tell, I'm doing that here, and I just can't open the knife. I have to get off the lock bar. So for me personally, it's not my style, but man, look at this thing. Isn't that gorgeous? Gorgeous design. The speed holes are really nice. It has a hollow ground blade, obviously Riot construction here. Now, I will say it is thick as shit on the blade stock. I don't know why they went that thick on the blade stock. It is hollow ground, and you know, but it's not that thin. I mean, the blade, right here, it's pretty thin, you know, but I mean, you can see the tip is still pretty thick considering it's hollow ground and it's a pretty small knife. I mean, it's not big. 3 1/4 inch maybe on the blade. So I found that interesting. They did a floating backspacer, which looks fantastic. Really well done. A pain in the ass when you're assembling the knife. Looks like they have washers there to help. But that's always a pain in the ass, so be careful. You can see there's a ton of schmutz there. I need to clean that for them. But there's no lock stick, so maybe I'll leave it alone. You do have thumb studs. I'm not a big fan of these rounded thumb studs that some people like. They kind of have this like inner edge, and then, I don't know, just don't love those. I slip over them sometimes. These I haven't slipped off of, so maybe they're bigger or something. They work, but usually I don't like those because I go right over the top. I love the pivot design. Yeah, I mean, Corbin just has really cool details. That's for me the coolest thing about his work is the details are excellent. So these were sold at Alliance Designs. I don't know if they're still available. I'll put a link if I can. I don't have an affiliate or anything like that, but so you guys can get there. One thing I want to note is the edge termination on this knife, to me, is god-awful. I don't know if I'm not an expert on that, but this just looks bad. So the plunge grind is, there's no drop, there's no choil, there's nothing there. It just goes from thick and then it thins out and it's all in the same plane. And then, so I could just see where you would try to cut and you get caught here trying to cut on this unsharpened part. I wonder how far back they actually sharpened it. I don't know. It just kind of looks bad to me, but maybe I'm wrong. I think aesthetically, it really doesn't do it for me either. You can see the plunge ends right about here. So yeah, like right behind where you can see the edge termination. So like right there that it ends. So I don't know what that means for sharpening or whatever, but I'm pretty sure your expensive knife here, immediately upon sharpening, will have a smile of some sort. And, you know, if it's a $400 knife, then that can suck. It does have an orange peel finish, which is really nice. I will note the stop pin looks to be internal. So for those of you who want to cut a sharpening choil in, it looks like you can do that because I don't see any stop pin here. So there's nothing in the way here. No reason why you wouldn't be able to take your Dremel here and do whatever you wanted with that. So anyway, I just wanted to note that. But I really like it. It's comfortable. You can choke up. You have a flat here. And this is actually my buddy Brent's Backpack B. He came to help me QC the nip lights. And he let me hang on to it to check it out. So shout out to Brent. He's a great friend and just a good dude. So I'll get this back to you, buddy. But that is the Keen from Alliance Design. The last one here is from Schrade. So they sent me this. This is their new OTF platform. It's called the Uproar. It's in D2 steel and aluminum body, and it's $99. Which is pretty cool. I mean, 99 bucks for an OTF. Does have a reversible clip. They actually sent it to me set up left-handed, which is kind of nice of them. It does have a rather thin, small, short blade for the size of the knife and the handle and everything. I felt like more was going to come out of there, and then this little guy comes out. But it works. The top part here is not sharpened. So it is a single edge on there, but it does have a double edge look. There is up and down. There is side to side. I don't know if you can't fail it by doing that, which is good. It says, it has a patent thing here. 0124, it says Uproar, and then it has the Schrade logo in D2. You have the Schrade, I mean, it's all over the place. There is one thing I don't love about it that I just want to point out. It's that thing that a lot of companies do where they kind of point towards it being American made, but it's not. You know, it says assembled in the USA with foreign and domestic parts. American outdoor brand. It's just, I don't know. It feels like it sort of wants to give off the USA made vibe, but it's not, you know? I mean, and they are clear about it, so that's fair. I just find it funny. Like, it could just say made in China, because it probably is made in China. And then it's sent here, and then they put it together. Because you can't ship automatics overseas. That's why companies have to put them together here. So there's nothing wrong with how they did that. It's just something I wanted to note. They have Schrade Lead the Pack sticker and another sticker here. I I handled a few of their folding knives a year or so ago, maybe, and I didn't love them. This thing fires. It's easy to operate. It's got a nice big switch. I mean, look at that thing. It cannons out. I mean, listen. Here's the axial shift. I mean, it's really well done. This is my favorite OTF. This is the best American-made. This is American-made OTF. It has the glide system under there with ceramic balls. This is something we've seen from Guardian Tactical. I just always want to point that out. But they've developed their own way of doing it. Excellent action. But I will say, this thing fires quicker. Now, I think part of that is maybe it's a shorter distance, but it also has this giant switch. Now, I think personally I much prefer this, but you're talking about over $200 for this. I think sometimes even closing in on $300, which to me is well worth it, and you get a lot of benefits for that. Titanium milled clip, right? You're getting Magna Cut here. Really well done all around. I like the blade length, shape, and all that stuff better over here. But if you're looking for something for $100, this is it's hard to not acknowledge that this is really good for $100. To me, it's way better than the that other one I checked out for $100 not too long ago from Blade Ops. What was that one called? It was some brand. I believe it was also D2 and aluminum, assembled in the US or whatever. I did not like those very much. This is, so far, reliable. And, I mean, it lets you experience a good OTF from an American company for $99. You know? So, yeah. Let me know what you guys think on the Uproar. I think it's pretty cool. I do wonder if they have different blade shapes. I'm not a big double-edged dagger guy. I like a sheep's foot. I will say, the Axial 3, this is a useful sheep's foot blade. I can EDC this. I mean, look at it. It has a decent grind on it. Yes, it's still thicker than most, and it's still an OTF. But as an OTF goes, it's way more usable than 99% of them, I'll say. This one, you know, it has the double-edged look, so you're going to lose. You're just going to have this very small edge bevel here. But you know, it'll get the job done for sure. And if you're looking at it like most people who have these first responders, stuff like that, it's not necessarily meant to be an EDC tool, then I think you're really going to like it. I mean, yeah, other than aesthetically and material-wise and stuff, just the blade, D2, I don't like. There's not much I can say about this that's bad. I mean, it works and all of that stuff. I don't love the billboarding all over it, but it's cool, and I think they did a good job with it. So give Schrade props for putting a good product on the market in the Uproar. I'm sure it's going to be sold in stores as well, because it has this plastic sort of box that you see hanging at a Dick's or wherever. So let me know what you guys think on this model here. Let me know what you guys think on all of these, because that was a lot of knives to show you there in an almost hour-long video. Yes, I'm sorry about that. We have the Uproar from Schrade, the Keen from Alliance Design. We have the beautiful Remet RT Swordfish in DLC. We have the Tri-Stash from Blade Binge and Tri-State EDC. We have the Truffles from Aurora Knife and Tool. We have the Offender from Neve Knife Co. And I gave you a look at the barley from Urban EDC, Divo Design. And we talked about, of course, the Nip Light, which is still available in these two configurations. And yeah, let me know which one's your favorite. Let me know which one you would pick up if you could. Let me know any thoughts you have on any of these. I appreciate it. I know the companies will appreciate it. And I will put a link down below to everything and anything I can. I appreciate you guys so much. I love you all. I hope you have an absolutely fantastic day. And I will catch you later.